Yo, what's up, guys? It's your boy Terrell here from Terrell's Manic Vlogs, or Terrell Game Vlogs. As the TGV, not the TV. The TGV is back in the building. Sorry, I'm rambling. I need to chill out. Anywho, so this is a video I've been wanting to make for a while now, and ironically enough, having in the vlog channel is probably the perfect place to put it, which is just me talking about my experiences of being a homeowner. Because people always talk about being a homeowner and people talk about houses, but like, I figured it'd be better coming from someone, and obviously you can take this with a grain of salt, it's up to you guys, but coming from someone who's been in a house going on 4 years. So to give proper context of my housing situation, I bought the house of June in 2022, but there were things that needed to be fixed up and changed, so I didn't start moving in here until like September of 22. So technically it's been 4 years already, but it hasn't been 4 years since I've lived here because that comes in like 2 months. So with that 4 years of experiences, I just want to talk about some things, some tips and tricks and some pros and cons of the kind of house that I bought and the kind of situation I was in. So 2022 was still like, it was post COVID, but it wasn't that post COVID. It wasn't like fucking like, it wasn't like that far movie. It was like the year things were transitioning properly back to normal and we're starting to get back into the daily lives, but there were still some residuals from COVID floating around because 2020 was completely fucked. 2021 was like that transitional, is it okay to come outside? And then 2022 was like the first normal-ish year post COVID. So yeah, keeping that in mind. Which and then the housing market, which has been a fucking mess, means that I technically spent more for this house than I probably should have. Now I didn't. It's not like it's not affordable. Like I can't afford it. Like I can. Even with the recent scamming, like I can make mortgage every month. Like I'm not tripping on that. Okay. But I do want to give some tips in regards to that because I think it's important. So one of the first things I would probably mention is that, and this is to me a grand rule of just in anything, do not get anything, an apartment or a house that you're first. So most people get paid like bi-monthly. You get paid like once every other week, meaning you get paid twice a month, right? If you cannot cover your mortgage within one of those checks, you're spending too fucking much. And what I mean by that is, I'll give you an example. Let's say you make $3,000 a month, which is like $1,500 every 2 weeks. If you cannot pay, if your mortgage is more than 1,500, you are in the wrong place. If your rent is more than 1,500 in this example, you are in the wrong fucking place. In the way I treated it was, I wanted it to be slightly less. So for example, like $1,000, because that would cover that, and then any early bills that came, whether it was like water, electric, gas, some insurance, some miscellaneous BS, right? So first things first, never, and this is just a rule in general, if you can't cover a major bill with one of your checks, then you do not need to do it. If you need both of your checks to cover any bill in your life, either get a better job and make some more money, or go or downsides. Don't even fucking bother. In my opinion, that's just how I move. Another thing is, the question is whether or not you should rent at all in the first place or buy, right? I'm gonna be real with you. This is highly dependent on where you live. A lot of people like to say that, oh, it's an investment and, oh, you're investing in your future, which is true, but there are literally some places in the US that are just not affordable. Georgia is one of those places where it is affordable enough to where it's feasible. But like for those of you who live in like California or fucking New York or like a major city, even I would probably even argue DC's probably in a similar position. It's just not realistic. So I'm not gonna sit here and say that everyone needs to buy a house. If you live in a city where this shit isn't affordable, don't worry about it. If you, especially if you don't plan to move, if you want to stay in that city, just you accept that you're renting. That's just how it goes. But I'm the kind of person. We grew up. I would say we grew up upper lower class or low middle class for a good chunk of my life, and then we kind of bottom into like middle class by the end of it all. By the time I became like an adult, that those rough experiences that I experienced as a kid made me very like hyper focused on I don't want to owe nobody nothing. I did that when it comes to college. I did that when it comes to cars and shit. I hate the idea of having outstanding debt because I've seen firsthand through my parents what the fuck that does to you. So as a thought process, I go out of my way. I'm like, I want to own everything I can. So you can't take shit from me. And there might be some family trauma there that I need to work on, but I'm just giving you my perspective. But another thing in that same line of thinking is just like a car loan and any other loan you pay, do not pay the bare minimum. Now I get it. It's a mortgage and this bitch is probably like 1,000 or more, like 1,000, 1,200, 1,300, 1,400 a month. The fuck you mean spend more? It's a 30-year loan. Just like anything else, you're still getting hit with taxes and all the and interest. And in this case, like home insurance and escrow accounts, right? Realistically, you will pay it off in the 30 years your loan is for. But if you want to get ahead of it, which everything you do, you want to, you will still, even if you pay ahead and you will plan to stay in that house the whole time, it will still benefit you in the long run. And I'll explain why. You get ahead of it and you pay an extra $50 a month, right? You do this because as the shit goes down, your payments will start going down. As you go through like the year loans, I think after a certain threshold, they start going down. The other thing is this, you won't owe as much on the house. So even if you sell it, you get more back. So what I mean by that is, let's say you buy a house for $150,000, right? And the house is technically worth, maybe it's worth like $150,000. So the more you pay into it, when you sell it, the more you'll get back. So let's say you sell it for $175,000. If you didn't make any payments, or it was like super early into owning the house, you're only getting $25,000 back. And really it's not even that because you got to deal with like the realtors and shit. So you're probably getting like maybe, I want to say like 20 grand back in that situation. But the more you pay, the more that gap. You want a gap between what the house is valued or what you plan to sell it for and how much you owe. Because the bigger that gap is, the more money you get. So if your house is worth 200 or 300,000 and you got that bitch down to like 200 or 100,000, whatever that difference is between the how much you sell it for and how much it's worth, that's the money you can get back if you sell it, or that's how much you got left to pay. And if you're lucky, you'll get to pay that bitch off in shorter than 30 years, which is realistically the goal. Plus, motherfucking taxes are eating up the majority of what you pay. So for example, my mortgage, for the sake of, we'll just use this as an example. Let's say my mortgage was $1,200, right? Of that $1,200, how much of that do you think is actually going to the actual principal or the main cost of the house? Maybe less than half, because you're getting hit by your fucking home insurance that you need for every fucking month and every year to cover any crazy things like fires and natural disasters. That's one of it. The other thing is taxes. And it depends on how your state and city are. Depends on which taxes you're getting hit by. But it's mostly like the school stuff, the water drainage, the cost of the house, just the land it's on. So when you deduct all that shit, if your mortgage payment is $1,200, maybe $300 of that shit's actually going to the principal of your fucking house. It's ridiculous. Yes, I know. Which is why people say pay more when you can, because it's just like anything else. The car does the same bullshit where you get hit with interest because you have interest rates on these houses. So the interest is eating up all that other shit. So realistically, if you want to make any real dent, put a little bit more. It ain't got to be nothing crazy, but $50 every 2 weeks would be great because it's $100 a month, which is an extra $1,200 that's getting smacked on that principal. So whatever the principal would have been at the end of the year, you drop it down another $1,200. And if you can put more, put more. Obviously, don't make yourself go broke. Don't lose your mind over it. It's a 30-year loan. It's not going to be killed out in no 2 to 4 years unless you just happen to hit the fucking lottery. But the point is, you're making dents. There's really no deficit for not putting extra down, other than you just don't have the extra money, which is fine because you're not required to put extra down. Going into other things, the house itself. So a lot of people want brand new houses. And can you do that? Sure. You just buy a piece of land and then you have to get a loan. No, most people end up getting a loan for the land and then getting a loan to build the house, and then they have to stay in the budget of building the house. Now, I didn't do that, so I don't have as much insight on that, but I do have insight on dealing with new houses versus old houses. I am a firm believer you do not get a brand new house, because the bullshit that you're going to run across, you are going to be the first run through of it. If the house doesn't settle and you got some shifting in the fucking leveling of the house, or you got parts of your wood that might be bent or like tilted, or like it feels like you're leaning somehow, or some goofy shit with the way it was wired by the electrician. Like, there's so many parts to a house, right? And a house that's brand new, especially in today's era where they're trying to make more houses so people can get into them quicker, so they can make money faster, means you got a bunch of construction workers doing rush jobs to get in and get out as quickly as possible. And unfortunately, when that happens, it means you have a loss of quality when it comes to building. So you might have some things that just aren't handled correctly. And unfortunately, if you're someone who isn't like well versed in houses, you won't fucking know. And you'll get 5 or 6 or 7 years down into that house, and then the problems start popping up. Oh, he didn't put in a proper junction box for the ceiling fan. So if you need to replace the fan, you can't do it. Oh, fuck. Or maybe the wiring's fucked up and your electric bills are way worse than what it would have been. These are things you won't know if you're not well versed, which is why they always say knowledge is power. So that's just things to keep in mind. So I'm someone who's cool getting an older house, which is still going to have its own problems, because in most cases, older houses aren't up to date on a lot of random shit. And you then have to dictate whether or not you're going to be the person to fix it, or if you're just going to tolerate it until you move, right? So there's pros and cons of having a new house. Obviously, everything's nice and new, supposedly, and everything's up to date. But whatever problems that house has, no one will know until you find him. So you'll be the first test for everything. Now, the problem with an older house is, like I said, a lot of shit isn't up to date. So there could be some long-standing issues with these houses that you don't fucking know about, just like a new house. The difference is that at least the old house has the tenure, as it were. Like, the bitch has been up for 20, 30 fucking years. It's kind of stood the test of time. You know, at least that bitch is not about to fall over anytime soon. But that means you probably got to do a bunch of miscellaneous shit. I'll give you some examples here. They didn't switch out the piping for the fucking the kitchen sink, so it smelled like death in there, and the bitch clogged all the time. Now, fun fact, I've never done anything plumbing related in my life. I had to learn, though. All the outlets in this house only had 2 prongs. None of these bitches had like a ground, the circular part, the ground outlet. So I couldn't plug in like a fuck ton of my things. So my only 2 options were to hire an electrician to come around and replace all these fucking outlets, or I could just figure out how to do it myself and just buy the outlets and do it myself. And what did I do? I spent the first month replacing every major outlet in the house. My first go around was just like the outlets in the immediate area, like the bedrooms and shit. But like, I went through pretty much every major outlet and replaced them. And there was a lot of trial and error, and the shit's frustrating. And obviously in a new house, you wouldn't have to do that, because at the very least, there is some level of standard they have to abide by. Now, some of the miscellaneous shit will slip through the cracks, which will be the problems you run across in 4 to 8 years of some bullshit. But like, the biggest struggle when it comes to old houses is when you have to fix shit, you have to figure it all out. And I'm going to promise you, it's not going to be all like sunshine and roses. This shit is rough, and this shit sucks. I have bummed myself out on numerous occasions with this house doing shit. Me replacing the pipes in the kitchen sink was one of the most grueling situations for me early on, because I knew it needed to be done, but I couldn't fucking do it. Now, replacing plumbing pipes on any newer house is easy as fuck. PVC pipe is cheap as fuck. Like, the actual process itself is easy. But you don't want to know why mine was a pain in the ass? Because the pipes were so old, they were rusted. And when I pulled them all out, I got the ones off the bottom of the sink off perfectly fine. But when it came to take the one out of the draining pipe, the one that goes out from under the drain that goes out into the piping under the house, what's the problem? Oh, the pipe is rusted. So what happened? When I pulled it out, half of that bitch was rusted and broke off into the damn drain hole. Here's the kicker. I didn't even notice it until like 3 days into the situation. So when I tried to put the new pipes in, all the sink ones were hooked up, but I couldn't get that back one to turn and lock in on it. And I thought it was because the damn the screws around it were like worn out and it wouldn't screw. That's what I thought. And so I got angry and frustrated and sad and depressed, bummed me all the way out. Only for me to finally realize I think I started on Saturday and it took me until Sunday evening to realize, oh, it's fucking bent up metal, broken off rusted metal that needs to be pulled out. And then the bitch finally screwed on. It's like an oh shit moment. Obviously with a new house, you ain't got to worry about rusted ass metal pipes for this to be a problem. And the shit's rough and sometimes it's embarrassing. I remember the first pipe, the first pipe wasn't even the kitchen one. It was the one in my bedroom. I have a bathroom in my bedroom, right? And the fucking metal pipe just fell off. Bitch just fell off. Water just came down the sink. And me being my first time in a house and a homeowner, I fucking panicked. Called my mom. What do I do? There's water. I don't know what to do. And it bummed me out that I had that when that shit hit the fan, I had to sit there and call my mother. That shit bummed me the fuck out. At the time I was 30. If it's 40, I was probably 30 going on 30. I probably had just turned 31. Because if I bought the house in June, my birthday was like 2 weeks after that. So I was probably turning 31 that year. I'm a 31-year-old man who does not know how to handle a leaking pipe. Or a pipe that's just like loose. I had to call my mother to come over to fix it. And that fucks with yourself. It fucks with your self-esteem. It fucks with your mental. But it's an experience that needs to happen for you to learn and to not have to make the same mistake twice. And so even though I was bummed out, my mom knew it. She was like, it's Terrell, it's not even a big deal. It's a pipe. It's not like we can't go and get another pipe and replace it, which is what we did. And I was like, fuck, which is what gave me the nerve to replace the ones in the kitchen. And that shit sucked. Guess what? Fixed it. It doesn't smell like fucking sewage ass under there anymore. It smells like Tide bleach, which is perfectly cool because, you know, that's a fresh smell. It's a nice smell. And I fucking did it. And now I'm more confident in doing those things. Same thing with these outlets. The first time I didn't know the difference between a hot wire and a live wire and a neutral wire and a grounded wire. I'm sitting there fumbling my ass off with these outlets, getting bummed out and depressed because also these outlets are old. So and I had to go around and turn off the power constantly so I don't shock myself to remove the outlets. Shit sucked. But you learn, you get better. And by the time I got to the ones like in the other rooms outside of the bedrooms, I'm on my shit. I'm on my shit. So it's a process. These are things you won't deal with that you're probably going to deal with as a homeowner eventually. The ease of it will all hinge on how old your house is. My house is from like the 1970s, 60s or 70s. It's like going on 50 or 60 years old at this point. So needless to say, some of the modern advancements weren't here. And it also means, unfortunately, I end up paying more for other shit. For example, when I got my new AC/heating system in, I wanted one of those smart ones that I could control from my phone and just fucking change the AC or heater on while I'm at work. So when I get home, the house is properly regulated temperature wise. What's the fucking problem? Oh, I don't have the proper wiring for that kind of AC unit. I mean, that kind of temperature unit. The old ones work because it's an old house, but the new ones require a special wire that wasn't already hooked up. So what did I have to do? Pay extra money, which is something people should be expecting. A lot of people like pretend like that this house shit, it doesn't cost extra money. It absolutely costs extra money. Don't let these motherfuckers fool you. It costs extra money. Even if it's a brand new house, is going to cost extra money. And you might ask why it costs extra money. It's because shit breaks over time. Some of this shit will be covered under insurance, but some of it won't. Even if it is covered under insurance, there's probably a deductible, which means there's a certain amount of money that you have to pay before they'll pay the rest of it. So usually it's like $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 or $4,000, depending on what your insurance plan is for it. So you're always going to spend money, which is why people say that buying a house is a scam. And in 2026, it feels more like a scam than it used to. So I'm not gonna lie to you, but like I said, I live in a state where it's viable to own a home and live perfectly fine. And I've been in this bitch for 4 years, no real issues in terms of payments. So yeah, and the house is overall a better experience to live in now than it was when I found it. To be fair, I'm gonna be real with you, because it was like post-COVID. This house had a lot of fucking problems, and I definitely overpaid for it. I didn't severely overpay for it, but I definitely, in the grand scheme of things, I overpaid for it. And part of me is angry about that shit, but I'm also happy because I wouldn't have learned how to handle fucking outlets. I wouldn't have learned how to put up sinks and shit. I now know how to fucking install ceiling fans. These things used to be a goddamn enigma to me because I had never touched them before. I'm like, how do you get this bitch on the ceiling and get it to stick? And now I'm starting to learn. You screw in the junction boxes, which are screwed into the ceiling, are usually the studs of the major support beams of the house. And then and then the newer ones, the smart ones, have extra wiring to be controlled with a remote. And you can go hook all that up. I'm so confident now. Not only did I put up I put up like 3 fans. Yeah, I put up 3 fans in this house. And then my mom was like, well, can you put up fans in my house? And I put up another 3 fans in her house. I couldn't do that shit like 4 years ago. I wouldn't even been close to being confident to do that shit. While also paying people to do certain things to improve the house. Now, like I said, this house had problems, and you should always want to improve your house for multiple reasons. One, because it makes the sale value goes up. So if you plan to sell it, you'll get more for selling it. But on top of that, it makes your living experience better. And at this point, I'm using it as opportunities to learn. It's not like I want to be an electrician, but I'm a lot more confident in doing electrical shit. Not completely, not like I'm out here wiring electrical boxes or some goofy shit like that. But I know more now. And that knowledge will be something I either carry on for future endeavors, or I can help out my other family members, like me putting up fucking ceiling fans for my mom. I couldn't have done that before. So while it does suck and there are frustrations while having an older home, I think the learning part of it is very important. Also, YouTube is goated in terms of information. There's so much information you can get from YouTube. It's outright astounding. And I just appreciate all that because, man, it's helpful to have that information. Don't think if there's any other stuff to deal with. Obviously, depending on your neighborhood, you might have a homeowners association, or also known as an HOA, and those fuckers make you pay sometimes. I don't have one of those, so I don't have to deal with that shit. But yeah, that's something to keep in mind if you are looking at a house. Like I said, don't buy something above your means. It's not the end of the world if the house isn't perfect. You can build on and expand on it. Think about it this way. If you keep the house and pay it off, you do whatever the fuck you want to it. You can make another room. You can pay for it. You'll have the extra money if the house is paid off anyway. So, trying to think if there was anything else of note. If there is, I might make an amendment to this, or if there's any questions you guys have, I might make a second part for it. But this is just some general stuff that was been on my mind when it comes to owning a home that I think is important. And it helped me. It would have been nice if I had known this before I had bought versus like everyone else. Taxes and all that other shit. They eat up so much of that fucking monthly payment. You feel like you're not doing no movement, no motion on paying that bill down. What you are, it's just slow as fuck. So definitely extra pay. You should do that even with car loans. Any loan you got, extra pay. Because if you don't, that bitch will be hanging over your head for decades. And I'm going to be about you. I ain't living like that, god damn it. I enjoy my peace. But with that being said, I think I'm going to leave it at that. Please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Hopefully this is helpful. And as I always say, this has been another vlog from your manic boy Terrell. Life's a game, play to win. And I will see you all later. Peace out. Oh no. The Game Boy is out.